Hello, bookish friends. I know you asked for a bookshelf tour, but I had a sore throat over the weekend, and getting through school this morning was difficult, so I'm going to do something shorter and leave the long video for next week. First of all, though, I've gotten some books in the mail this week, and I thought I'd share them. I have Castle of the Winds by Christina Baehr. This is the third book in the Secrets of Ormdale series. Not much I can tell you without giving spoilers, but it has dragons and is set in Victorian times, I believe 1899. And this one, they go to Wales. So, very excited about that one. And I have The Lost Manuscript by Mollie Rushmeyer. I actually got a NetGalley advanced reader's copy last year and read it before it came out, but now I have a physical one and I might reread it this winter. And finally, my pre-order of Winter's Maiden by Morgan L. Busse came in the mail. It's beautiful and it has silver foil on the actual book, and since I pre-ordered this one, I got the pre-order goodies, which has, get the envelope open, a card of Brigid, the main female character, a sticker that will probably end up in my reading journal, and a special tea called Winter's Spice, and it is chamomile, apple, cinnamon, cardamom, and cloves. Ooh, that sounds wonderful. And this is the first book in a series. I talked about it in my July wrap-up. Brigid is clanless in Nordica and ends up winning a contest to be one of their fighters in the war to try to gain status. And it's fantasy, and I really enjoyed it. And I also got a card in the mail from Chantel at Chantel Reads All Day, and she sent me some fun stickers. So thanks, Chantel. Those will go in my reading journal too, which might pop up in a future video. Now, on to the books I have not read, and I have about 25 of them. I'm going to grab my first stack, which is nonfiction and unread Mrs. Pollifax. So, I have all 14 books in the Mrs. Pollifax series. I've read the first 10, and I think I have these in order. This is number 11, Mrs. Pollifax Pursued. And this time, instead of traveling internationally, Mrs. Pollifax finds somebody has been living in her junk closet for 2 days and thinks she is being followed by a white van. And I'll go ahead and read the first sentence or so. Mrs. Pollifax, relaxing for a few minutes over coffee at her kitchen table, dutifully scanned the headlines of the morning newspaper. OPEC meeting abortive. Food riots in Ubangiba. Tornado strike hits Kansas. But she was far more interested in the abduction of Henry Bidwell 4 days ago, about which there was a long article, but with very little fresh news. Not always the best start in Mrs. Pollifax. And the second one is Mrs. Pollifax. Actually, this would be book 12, is Mrs. Pollifax and the Lion Killer. And this one, Mrs. Pollifax accompanies her friend to the African country of Ubangiba, which I believe Dorothy Gilman made up so that she wouldn't use an actual African country and not have any people form negative views of a particular African country through the events in this book. And let's see if first sentence has any spoilers. She mustn't go alone, Cyrus was saying. Absolutely not. It could be dangerous for Katie. We both know that. Interesting. So then number 13, I believe, is Mrs. Pollifax, Innocent Tourist. And this one, she's on loan to her retired CIA friend Farrell. Oh, another one with John Sebastian Farrell. Then goes to the Middle East. I don't like to know much about my books as I go into them. Carstairs was seated at his desk at headquarters, yawning over an intelligence report laden with statistics when Bishop opened the door and announced that John Sebastian Farrell was asking to see him. Yep. Gonna see Farrell again. He's in a few other ones. And the final one, number 14, Mrs. Pollifax, Unveiled. 7 weeks ago, a young American woman, Amanda Pym, faced down hijackers on board a flight to the Middle East and saved the lives of more than 200 passengers. In a blaze of celebrity, she stepped off the plane in Damascus and was whisked away in a waiting car. Since then, nothing. The CIA believes she was kidnapped and murdered. Prologue. Mrs. Pollifax, entering Carstairs' office, smiled at the many times she'd opened this same door and wondered again why she'd been so hastily summoned by car and private plane. All right, on to nonfiction. We have End of the Spear by Steve Saint. His father was Nate Saint and was murdered by indigenous people that they were trying to minister to and become missionaries. I read Through Gates of Splendor last year. Thought this might be a good follow-up read. Let's see. Back to the Stone Age, November 1994. The head flight attendant had given us the customary briefing before takeoff. Okay. Don't expect nonfiction to have the best first sentence. And then I have The Hiding Place, an engaging visual journey. I bought this last year while visiting family, but I had just reread The Hiding Place, so I think I might be almost ready to read it again. This is the story of Corrie ten Boom and their family hiding Jews during World War II and leading up to World War II. Preface. The 100th birthday party. I jumped out of bed that morning with one question in my mind: sun or fog? This one has pictures and illustrations, and I'm hoping they won't be too distracting from the text. And this one I don't plan on getting to for a while. Is the ultimate guide to homeschooling teens. My oldest just turned 10, so I'll probably read this in a couple years. Higher education begins at home. Homeschooling through high school is more practical than ever. Whether your teen plans to enter the workforce after high school, enroll in a trade school, or attend an Ivy League university, high school at home may be the best decision you can make now to ensure your child's future. Well, I hope so. That's the plan for my family. I'll grab another stack. So while I was clearing off my shelves to bring my books out here to talk about, I found a book I didn't remember I had. This is Mysteries of Eckert House, Hidden in Plain Sight by Chris Auer. I think I was going to pre-read the first one for my kids. Something inside Dan told him the threat was no joke. Somehow he knew the person who wrote the note was serious. Eerie stories surround the old Victorian mansion-turned-museum known as Eckert House, but what was once thought to be fiction may prove to be fact after 12-year-old Dan Pruitt makes a gruesome discovery. Dan and his friends set out to uncover the truth, What will their search lead them down a path of danger instead? Whenever Dan Pruitt was unhappy, he'd jump on his skateboard and head over the west side of town, where the hills were steeper and the sidewalks were smoother. Okay. I found The War That Saved My Life at a thrift store last month, and it was like 50 cents, I think, and it was popular on YouTube a while ago, and I thought, pick up a copy, see if I like it. I might pass it along to my niece when I'm done. This one is World War II. A girl is sent out of London to live during the Blitz. Ada, get back from that window, Mam's voice shouting. Yeah, remember, she doesn't start out in a good situation. Next I have Roses for Regret, the third and final book in the Time Will Tell Mysteries series by Audrey Stallsmith. This one is, can Reagan Culver prune away the thorny tangle of suspicion and danger that's strangling an heirloom rose society? After wildlife rehabilitator Dama Day casts senatorial hopeful Bram Falco the election, her animal patients are slaughtered and her prized rose bushes poisoned, presumably in retaliation. Chapter 1. I'm going to read the first paragraph of this one. The bedroom had pivoted during the night. Damia Day's feet pointed at a wall that had withdrawn itself. Besides, it was the wrong wall, and she felt cold. That's interesting. I've talked about this one a couple times, the homeschool experiment. Mom decides to homeschool her kids. I haven't peeked at the first sentence, though. June. At least the boys are having fun. I'm in the backyard with my kids and their cousins, Maddie and Drew. Drew is a few months older than Daniel. Maddie's 10, but she thinks she's 16 and seems bored by everything. I hope it's good. And I also mentioned this one in my pile of possibilities for August. If I'm Found, the second book in the If I Run series by Terri Blackstock. Casey Cox is still on the run, fleeing prosecution for a murder she didn't commit. Casey. The police lights in my rear view mirror almost destroy me. Yes. Another stack. Oh, my husband picked this one up for me at a library sale. It's Snapshot and Dreamer by Brandon Sanderson. In here, the two of them were absolute authorities. Flashing their badges could get them past any obstruction, overrule any order. They were two men in a crowd of shadows. I'm not going to do Dreamer because it's just a short story. Anthony Davis, one of the only two real people in a city of 20 million, caught the burrito his partner tossed to him. Which end is the mustard on? He asked. And then Aftermath by Terri Blackstock. I found this at a thrift store for $25 a while ago, and I like some of her books, so I thought I'd give this one a try. This gripping new thriller will leave you on the edge of your seat. A devastating explosion. 3 best friends are at the venue to hear their favorite band. Only one makes it out alive. Taylor Reed's phone flashed as she snapped the selfie with her 2 friends, their heads touching and their backs to the stage. Must be a pre-explosion. And then I have To Save a King by Rachel Hauck. A modern-day fairy tale of hope and rescue from New York Times bestselling author Rachel Hauck. After growing up in small-town Harts Bend, Tennessee, Gemma Stone sets off to Hollywood to make her mark in the world. But her ambition turned into a journey of 1,000 bad decisions, and after 12 years of seeking fame and fortune, Gemma returns home with a limp and a dark secret. I picked this up as a reading prize from my library's summer reading program. let's begin here. Peregrine Palace, Port Fresha, Lachtenland, 2000. Once upon a time, Prince John believed in fairy tales. Okay, and another one I picked up from my library as a reading prize this summer. The Lines Between Us by Amy Lynn Green. Since the attack on Pearl Harbor, Gordon Hooper and his buddy Jack Armitage have stuck to their values as conscientious objectors. Much to their families' and country's chagrin, they volunteer as smoke jumpers rather than enlisting, parachuting into and extinguishing raging wildfires in Oregon. But the number of winter blazes they're called to seems suspiciously high, and when an accident leaves Jack badly injured, Gordon realizes the facts don't add up. It's prologue. Oh. The first bit is in letters. Gordon Hooper, December 31st, 1944, 3 years later. Seems to me that if you have to ring in another year of war, you might as well do it parachuting into a wildfire. That's a good first sentence. Alright, let's see if I can get the last of these. Another one I talked about in my pile of possibilities, Death in the Air by Agatha Christie. Unfortunately, these don't have anything about them on them, which is fine with me because I like to go into my mysteries not knowing anything. The September sun beat down hotly on Le Bourget Aerodrome as the passengers crossed the ground and climbed into the airliner Prometheus, due to depart for Croydon in a few minutes' time. Agatha Christie is also not the best first sentence writer. I have Charity Girl by Georgette Heyer, another one I found at a thrift store. As far as it was possible for any elderly gentleman suffering from dyspepsia and a particularly violent attack of gout to take pleasure in anything but the alleviation of his various pains, the Earl of Roxton was enjoying himself. Good for him. I have Chromatic by Ashley Bustamante. I won this from a Celebrate Lit giveaway, and I read Vivid, which is the first book. I have Radiant out from my library, which is the second book, and this is the third book. And the color theory, since it's the third book, I don't think I can actually say anything about it. The first sentence is, the scars on Megas are internal. Okay. Then I have Shepherd's Lie, book 6 in the Scottish Bakehouse Mysteries. I just finished book 5 last week, and I'll probably pick this one up in September because I think I have them overlapping with the months now. And this one has the Bakehouse 3, Mollie, Laura, and Carol as they reunite to open. Oh, the Bakehouse has already been opened. This one apparently has an unsolved murder in it. These are our last scones until Laura can get us more, Mollie Ferris called to Carol McCallahan, who was helping her serve customers at the front counter. Yeah, these all have the best first sentences. And I have You'll Be Sorry. This is number 9 in the same series. Book 7 is on its way, so I just need book 8, and then I'll have the first 9. And let's see. At the faint sound of her name being shouted from the bakery below, Mollie Ferris closed the folder on the advertising copy she'd been preparing for Bread on Arrival's Yule Festival specials. They get better. And finally, I have The Last Gasp by Chautona Havig. This is the first book in the Ever After mysteries. They're set in the 1920s. At the pinnacle of his Hollywood career, Garrison Prince's reign ends tonight. As plain old Gary Prince, he can pursue his Bible education, buy a bungalow in Pasadena, acquire a few chickens, and marry the girl of his dreams. He just never imagined trading the silver screen for a pulpit would wreak such havoc. Oh, right. This one's signed. I got it at the bookstore where her daughter used to work. The first sentence, Gary Prince stepped out of the California sunshine and into the role of Garrison Prince, rising Hollywood royalty. Very excited. I hope to start that series soon. And like I said, I have one book on the way. I'll put a picture in at the end. And I also filmed a short clip of where I keep all of these books because it's not a very good place to film. And hopefully when my new tripod gets here tomorrow, I can start filming my bookshelf tour. This isn't my only set of shelves, so it might take a while. So let me know, have you gotten any new books lately? Are you reading anything good? Have a good day. Go read a good book. So this is where my unread books live, on this bookshelf next to my bed. I have books I want to read next here. This is usually where my book goes when I go to bed. And then all my other unread books are just here. And you can see it's not the best for filming.